The morning sun spilled across the marble floors of the grand kitchen, glinting off polished silver handles and scattering shards of light across the walls. From the outside, the mansion stood as a monument to perfection, towering gates, manicured hedges, and every inch whispering wealth and power. But behind those walls lived a man whose fortune could not mask the weight of his loneliness. Charles Montgomery, a billionaire famed for his sharp instincts and ruthless negotiations, returned home each evening to a house that looked alive but felt hollow. Years ago, his wife had walked away, unable to bear the strain of raising twin sons born profoundly deaf. Since then, Charles buried himself in empire building, while nannies and maids came and went, none staying long enough to bridge the silence. That afternoon, Charles arrived home earlier than usual. His polished shoes clicked against the tiled floor as he loosened his tie, briefcase heavy in his hand. Exhaustion draped over him from endless meetings. But then he stopped. From the kitchen came laughter, not in words, but in bursts of soundless joy, vibrating through the air like sunlight. His heart lurched. The twins rarely expressed such unguarded happiness. Curiosity pulled him forward, and then he froze. There they were, his twin boys, barefoot on the kitchen counter, sunlight painting their matching red shirts. Between them pulsed a speaker, its lights flickering in rhythm with the thumping bass. They couldn't hear the music, but they could feel it. And dancing with them, arms raised high, was Isabella, the maid he had hired only 2 weeks ago. Apron tight at her waist, bright yellow gloves still on. She moved like a conductor guiding a symphony only they could understand. Her gestures were bold, her smile radiant, her swaying body drawing the boys into a world of vibration and light. They followed eagerly, stomping their feet, mimicking her movements with unrestrained delight. Charles stood frozen, briefcase dangling, mouth slightly open. For years he had sought to reach his sons through tutors, therapists, and specialists. Yet nothing had pierced their silence. And here, this woman, a maid, had unlocked joy he had never managed to touch. Something sharp and tender stirred in his chest. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected connections, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us continue bringing stories that remind us of the beauty in everyday life. Charles cleared his throat, though the sound vanished in the music. Isabella noticed him instantly. A flicker of panic crossed her face. She helped the twins down quickly, snapping off the speaker, as though caught in a forbidden act. But the boys protested, tugging at her apron, their little hands reaching up, their eyes glowing with unspoken words. Charles stepped into the kitchen, bewildered but not angry. Silence pressed heavy around them, yet his heart was anything but calm. Isabella murmured apologies, her head bowed. But then the boys signed clumsily with small hands, a message Charles, though not fluent, understood clearly. They were calling her Mommy. The word struck him harder than any boardroom defeat. His wife's absence had left a void no wealth could fill. His boys had stopped asking for her long ago, but their need never faded. And now in this maid's laughter and dance, they had found comfort. That night, Charles sat alone in his study replaying the scene. He remembered their glowing faces, the way they clung to Isabella as though she was the axis of their little world. He remembered, too, his own failures, the countless times he had chosen deals over dinners, conferences over cuddles. Guilt settled heavy in his chest. Yet beneath it flickered something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Perhaps this woman was showing him what he had been too blind to see, that his sons didn't need perfection. They needed love, patience, and someone willing to step into their silent world. Days turned into weeks, and changes filled the mansion. The twins laughed more, played more, lived more. Isabella invented games with colors, vibrations, and gestures, taping balloons to their wrists so they could feel bass notes in their arms, teaching them to dance with light as their music. Every evening, Charles watched quietly from the doorway, his heart softening piece by piece. And slowly, Isabella's influence reached him as well. One night she beckoned him to join their dances. Hesitant, awkward, he touched the speaker, feeling its thrum under his palms. His sons giggled as he stumbled, but their laughter was warm, never cruel. For the first time, Charles wasn't the billionaire or the stern father. He was simply daddy, clumsy but present. Still, not all accepted this change. Wealthy colleagues mocked him for letting a maid shape his sons' lives. They said she was overstepping her place. But when Charles saw the light in his boys, eyes brighter than ever before, he knew their judgment meant nothing. Over coffee one morning, Isabella shared her story. She had once studied music, but tragedy forced her to leave school and work. Her brother, who had been deaf, taught her to feel music beyond sound, and through him, she learned to turn silence into joy. Listening, Charles's respect for her deepened. She wasn't just a maid. She was a woman of resilience, compassion, and rare understanding. The mansion slowly transformed. No longer echoing with emptiness, it burst with laughter and dance. Charles began leaving work early, trading boardrooms for kitchen dance floors. He was rediscovering fatherhood, rediscovering life. Then came the moment he would never forget. At breakfast, the twins signed something new. It was rough, imperfect, but unmistakable. Daddy Dance. Tears blurred his eyes as he rose from his chair. Without hesitation, he moved to the silent rhythm Isabella had taught them. The twins erupted in delight, waving their arms, their joy wrapping around him like music. For Charles, this wasn't just a dance, it was a bridge, a bond, a second chance. By then, he knew his life had changed forever. Money, reputation, power, none of it compared to this. The maid he had hired to clean his house had instead cleaned the emptiness from his soul. And as he looked at her, guiding his boys with grace and laughter, he felt his heart beat again, in rhythm with theirs. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Support helps us spread stories of love, resilience, and second chances. Tell us in the comments, which moment moved you the most? Your words might inspire someone else today. That afternoon, sunlight spilled into the kitchen once again. But this time, Charles didn't stand apart. He danced beside his sons and Isabella, laughter shaking free from a heart once caged. In that ordinary kitchen, surrounded by extraordinary love, a billionaire finally discovered the richest treasure of all, not wealth, but moments that melt the soul.